Lesson 67, Radical Denominators in Algebra 2. All right, I'm going to kind of stray away from the book for a few minutes. We just kind of remind you of some things. Now, when we have a radical on the bottom like that, that's not simplified. It's kind of like saying 2 over 4 is simplified because it can be reduced to 1/2. So that's the answer that we want. Same thing is true with a radical on the bottom. We don't like it that way, so we try to get rid of it. And to get the radical gone on the bottom, we multiply the top and the bottom by that radical. At least in this case we do. And 3 times the square root of 5 is 3 square root of 5. And then square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25, which is 5. So that, even though it looks more complicated, is the simplified version of 3 over the square root of 5 because we don't want the radical in the bottom. Okay, so you've been doing that all along. Not been really too difficult, but more of just remembering to do it. Well, what happens when we have something like this? What do we do when we have something like that? Because we have more than just a radical in the bottom, we have the 4 plus. And if you remember, when we have two numbers held together by a plus or a minus sign, they become one unit. We can't just multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. This is not the square root of 3. My denominator there is 4 plus the square root of 3, not two separate pieces. So if we're going to get rid of the square root of 3, we're going to have to do something to the entire thing. And that's where the word conjugate comes from. You've heard it in English, maybe. Alright, this is an N, by the way, not an M. It's not conjugate. I don't even know if you could say that. This is an N. Oh my goodness, Gary. N. Conjugate. Alright, so if we're looking at conjugates, a conjugate is of one compared to another. A conjugate is an expression that has the exact same numbers in it, only the sign in the middle is different. These are conjugates of each other. One is a plus, one is a minus, but the numbers are the same. So when we're multiplying, or when we're trying to get rid of a radical in the denominator, and we have more than just the radical in the denominator, we multiply the top and bottom by the conjugate. Okay. And you're looking at this going, oh crud, I have to do the FOIL method? No, you don't. When you multiply the conjugate, it's a real quick and easy way to multiply. You multiply the first numbers. You multiply the second numbers. Well, actually, you square the first numbers. 4 squared is 16. You square the square root of 3, which is 3, and you put a minus sign between them. And that is it. And then you have to multiply those. So if you have to do the FOIL method, you're kind of stuck with that. But since it's multiplied by 1, you're fine. So 4 minus square root of 3 over 13. And you're done. Okay? Not too terribly difficult, believe it or not. Alright, let's try a practice one. Let's do example 67.2. Okay, conjugate. Remember, the numbers stay the same. You just put the opposite sign. If this were a negative sign, this would be a positive. But since it's a positive sign, the conjugate is a negative. So we have 3 times 2 square root of 3 minus square root of 2 on top, because we multiply these. Square the first term. So we're going to square 2 square root of 3. So we're going to have to square them individually. The 2 squared is 4. What is the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? Just a 3. and they're multiplied here, so they're going to be multiplied here, minus square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is just 2. So now let's go ahead and distribute, and we get 6 square root of 3 minus 3 square root of 2 over 12 minus 2, or 10. That's it. That's the lesson. Anything more to it? Alright, 5 minutes 37 seconds. Awesome.